Hi guys, and welcome back to another DrAce video, and today we're going to be playing Ride 4. DrAce Time Trial Challenges are back. Challenge number 13 is on board the Harley Davidson XG750A Street Rod, and we're going to be here in Kyalami, tackling for the world record lap time of a 1:48.230. Shout out to Yatesy in 6th place, a regular ace in the DrAce Time Trial Challenges and in the Discord server. So without further ado, let's tackle Kyalami on board the Harley Davidson. So here in Kyalami, a brilliant track here in this wonderful South African circuit. Very difficult circuit to try and get a good balance and a good consistent lap time, because I tend to find that in the past my lap times here have been good in a couple of sectors and then maybe I've fallen off towards the end, or maybe I've done a little bit bad in the first sector and I've done better towards the end of the lap times. But for the time being, this is going to be a simple case of me just trying to get back into the thick of things when it comes to the DrAce Time Trial Challenges. Now, I won't lie to you, I don't particularly like this Harley Davidson. I'm not a fan of many of the Harley Davidson bikes in this game, but the Street Rod wasn't too bad. It seems to still have a bit of gall and gumption to try and get this lap record, and of course it does feel good to be back on Ride 4, and I am really enjoying my time with Ride 4 now that MotoGP 21 has finished in the sense of the career mode, until for now at least. Of course, if you are following the MotoGP career mode, we did just win the championship, and we will be moving on to another championship sooner rather than later. But for the time being, I do want to try and bring back the DrAce Time Trial Challenges. I did mention before they all stopped that I would return back to them, so here we are here today. Now, I'm not sure how often I'm going to be able to bring them back to you. I don't know if I'll be able to do them every single week, but I'll certainly do my best, and I'll probably chuck in some MotoGP Time Trial Challenges as well. But as far as these DrAce challenges go, if you're not sure on how this works, basically what it is I'm going to try and compete for a world record on Ride 4, some sort of leaderboard and some particular bike. The rules are that you only have to use the exact same bike, the same track, and of course the weather conditions are entirely up to you, but I would definitely recommend you stay with the same sort of weather conditions, otherwise it would be absolutely impossible if you're going to chuck in rain, for example. Well, going into the left-hander for Ingwe, turn 12, nice and tight to the apex there, somewhat cutting the rumble strip. This is going to be our very first lap here in Kyalami on board the XG750A, and that is not going to be enough. We are roughly 2.5 seconds down, or potentially 3 seconds down from the lap time that we need to beat. But getting back into things, this is what you got to do. You got to start off slow and then begin to work your way into it. Now, I'm currently running a hard front and a medium rear. May have to work that round, maybe chuck in a different options. For the time being, I'm sticking with the hard front and the medium rear. But the track is a difficult one, it really is, and learning where you can push and learning where you cannot is imperative for a solid lap time. And of course, this is why we do these things on the time trial challenges. Of course, you just got to keep going. Whether you make a mistake or not, you just continue to push, and you just continue to look forward and say where you can improve and where you cannot. Now, you guys have the benefit, if you're on PC, to follow my lap time and my ghost around the lap, of course. Personally, for me, I don't like the ghost. I never use them if I can, and I don't have a reference here, so it's going to be just me trying to just set the fastest lap time possible for you guys to try and beat. Now, I won't lie, it took me a couple of laps to get up to speed, and this is one of the 2 lap times that I'm sort of getting back into the thick of things and getting back into using a bike like this, which I've not used in quite a while. Of course, racing with the Aprilia RSGP and MotoGP 21, and then coming back here to do the weekly challenges every now and again, it does certainly feel different. And the biggest difference for me is the brakes. The brakes on MotoGP 21 are obviously extremely powerful, so if you do tend to brake a little bit abruptly, or maybe you didn't get the wheels positioned correctly going into a particular corner, you will not make the corner and you'll probably end up crashing. Here on Ride 4, complete opposite, you have free reign of really pushing the bike to its absolute limits and even beyond sometimes, and the brakes still hold firm. But already on this lap, the tyre is getting a little bit warmer, shows how much we are pushing that front end on the brakes, but across the line we will go a 1:50.102 for our second lap. Now, I've been back and I've changed the tyres over because, of course, the hotter the tyre gets, the hotter the temperature means the less grip it's going to have when you really want to push it going into some of the corners. Now, something I want to mention that I always bring up during these sort of lap records and any time trials I do, and that is, it's important not to lose focus or concentration just because the ghost gets ahead of you. If you are using the ghost, or if you are using just a normal lap time counter and you can see in the sector times you're losing time, don't give up just because you're already down. When you're already down, you've lost that sort of fear of making a mistake. When you've already made that mistake, why not just continue to push? And for me, this is a massive thing to help me improve, because let's say I've gone a little bit wide in one of the corners and I say, that's it, I'm not going to get the lap time here now. Continue to push, because without that fear of knowing that you're going to make that mistake, you've completely free reign to do whatever you want. So you can push with your heart's content, and you might find that even just pushing beyond that limit that you thought was is actually not the limit at all. You can actually go that little bit further, you can brake that little bit harder, you can maybe apply a bit more rear brake than you actually think you can. So in my opinion, it's always very important to continue to push. And even if you have made a mistake, don't just restart the lap. You need to continue the rhythm. You've got to keep on that flow. Keep on going, just keep on pushing. It doesn't matter if you're going to be losing like a full second. If you can keep that rhythm going and get back into the frame of it, you can do a lot better. And for me, one of the most impressive things in bike racing is that consistency of getting the same lap time over and over and over again. That is what I aim for every single time I jump on Ride 4 or even MotoGP or any other game for that matter that involves some sort of racing. Always try and be consistent, always try to continue to push for the absolute maximum of your abilities. So lap 3 is about to come to its conclusion, and across the line we will go in a moment's time. It's going to be a 1:49.269, so we are trending in the right direction, but we are still roughly about a whole second down from the lap record as things stand. So of course we still have to dig deep in this one. We're too far back, and I must confess at this point I did consider maybe I need to do a few more laps to really get back into things before I can even consider finishing on the podium in the sense of the lap record. So for the time being, we're just going to continue to push. Now I did find going into barbecue for turn 4, I couldn't really find the exact optimal line that I really enjoyed taking through there. It took me a couple of goes and took me a couple of laps to understand where's the best time to go. But when you see that green sector on that first split and you're already up by a couple of tenths, or maybe in the second split, you have to think a little bit of hope, and you think, you know what, maybe I'm going to get this job done actually after all. I just need to continue to push, and little by little and little by little we'll get there in the end. So going into the S's, very difficult section of the track, but I can assure you the braver you are going into the S's, the faster your lap time will be. If you decide to falter and maybe lose a bit of concentration or a bit of confidence, you're probably going to make a mistake. And the same can be said for turn 8, a corner name I do not know how to pronounce. Liu Cop, there you go, I tried my best, but I think I'm butchering it. We are still pushing very much anyway as we get into turn 9 now, another difficult corner, and probably the most toughest part is turn 10. Where on earth do you brake on this one? There doesn't seem to be much on the track to help you and aid you to understand where is best to go, so I would advise just taking your time with that one. Keep pushing and eventually it will come through. Now going into Cheetah as well, I didn't realise how much you can actually abuse that rumble strip to still have a eligible lap time, and of course still going into Ingwe, cutting the rumble strip as well, saves a ton of time and it still benefits you dramatically. And across the line we'll go. The first time we're into the 1:48, so 1:48.9 puts us into the same second as the leaderboard right now, so therefore we do have a chance. I'm beginning to get back into it now. I'm beginning to get my groove back and start getting a little bit more confident, especially as you get to see that little bits of moments of getting closer and closer. You get that motivation back that really wants you to continue to push, and I'm already quite pleased with my progression so far. When I started it and I was so far down, I was like, ooh, I'm not sure I'm actually going to get this one. Maybe I've lost my skills and maybe I need a little bit more time, but the more you get into things, the better you become. So never ever stop pushing and always stay ace, of course. Now mentioning the bike, of course, the street rod, you do have to upgrade it to a certain point to be eligible for this category. I do believe you need to be a 396 or 398. You have to work out on which engine upgrades you want to use. You can use whatever you want to use, but as long as it's beneath that 400 mark. Of course, any further than 399, you move into the next category, so just pay attention to that one. I do believe I upgraded not the engine, but just the brakes. Maybe upgraded the brakes to fully and maybe the engine to 2. I don't actually remember. I'll let you know in the comment section down below if you do need that assistance in upgrading the bike. But I do believe you can make it however you want to make it, as long as it is in that particular category. Now I did find that this was the best for me because as such a hard braker, the brakes are the most important for me. I don't really mind if the bike's going to be fast or not. As long as I'm good on the brakes, I can pretty much make up the time on the brakes and going into the corners. A bit more like a Yamaha in MotoGP, if you will. Making all up on the brakes and in the corners rather than the acceleration on the straights. So going into Cheetah or coming out of Cheetah, not a bad performance going into that corner, but I do believe if we cut a bit more of the rumble strip, probably could have saved a bit more time as we get super close to the wall on Ingwe there for turn 12. That shark helmet practically kissed the wall. Across the line we will go at 1:48.802. So not a bad performance so far. We're still trending in the right direction. An improvement every lap means that we're going to get to the promised land sooner rather than later. So speaking actually about the category and how you've got to upgrade the bike to make sure it makes sense, my bike is actually a 396, you can use a 398, it doesn't really make much of a difference, but I guess if you play around with it you might find what you like, and you might find that more acceleration and more power is better than working it harder on the brakes. But for me, as I just mentioned, brakes are very, very important to me. Now something to mention as well, just be careful with the tyres that you use. I don't discriminate against any tyre use, so if you want to use mediums, hards, softs, or a combination of both, entirely up to you. I worked around with a couple of them. I always usually go for a harder front because of course I brake so heavily. Maybe if you brake a little bit gentler, maybe you want to go for a soft, but for me I went for the harder option for the majority of this one because I did find the tyres were warming up rather quickly. We're doing pretty well on this lap actually, we're ahead of the Ghost, and even though I don't like the Ghost, I forgot to turn it off. So I'm stuck with the Ghost on this one, and of course I do believe you guys like the Ghost, so it makes sense to leave it on. But if you don't like the Ghost, I can finally turn it off, but I'll leave it on for you guys, for your benefit. So the downhill section, Sector 3, is going to come up any moment now. We're up by a tenth and a bit. Not enough for the world record lap, but it's still an improvement nonetheless. And of course, if we all piece it all together, this puzzle is slightly coming together in the sense of potential world record pace. So who knows what's going to happen yet, but we're going to continue to push here on lap 6. We go onto the right-hand side, very tight to the apex there for Cheetah. I almost actually cut the corner on the left-hand side there, going into the corner by touching too much of the rumble strip, but onto the left-hand side we go. Not as close as the wall as we were on the previous lap, but still very close nonetheless. We're going to give it full acceleration. Across the line we go. Is this going to be enough? It's a 148.336. Goodness me, that was closer than I expected. The goal was a 148.2, and that was extremely close. We're only a tenth and a bit away now. It's all about piecing it together. If we can put it all together and make this full puzzle, we can have a world record lap time, ladies and gentlemen. So on the right-hand side, we'll go for the Joseki sweep, or the just Kai sweep. I tried to pronounce it, I made a mess. I think I've been calling it the Joseki sweep for God knows how long. We're going in the sweep for turn 2. Also be very careful coming out of that corner as well, because that non-coloured rumble strip also invalidates your lap time if you take too much of it. So my best advice to you, stay between the lines. That is pretty much the best advice anyone can give you about anything in life. So going into the left-hander now for the 6th corner for the clubhouse bend. We did lose a bit of time to the Ghost, but it's not just about losing time to the Ghost, it's about making sure we have that consistent pace. So going into the left-hander now for the S's, do we have the balls of steel to get through and go onto the Ghost? And tell you what, we did. We absolutely smashed going through the Ghost there, and we should be up again going into the 3rd split or going into the 4th split in a moment's time. So hard braking zone for the left-hander of Liu Kopp, such a difficult braking zone. I tend to come to a standstill there, like a V shape going into that corner. You can go for a wider, like longer line around, but for me I went for that sort of V shape like the Hondas do, and we're up by 0.2 of a second. Is this going to be enough to put us into the low 148, which is going to be the world record going into the Crocodiles? Lovely tight apex there, much better compared to the previous lap and the laps before. Going into the, oh, I've gone a bit too, oh, I knew that was going to happen. The second I went close to that rumble strip, I did feel that that was going to be too much, begging for answers on that one, but unfortunately the bike says, nah mate, you're too far over, but unfortunately this is not going to be it. It could be enough, but of course it doesn't really matter now, it's all material because that lap has been invalidated. So back to it once again. You've seen the tyres in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. They were an absolute mess towards the end of that lap, and therefore we needed to jump back in and get a fresh pair of boots, as they call it. And this time I've opted for the softs. I've not used the softs yet, so it's going to be a simple case of just going for it now. Soft front, soft rear, full acceleration, the whole shebang, and just see what we can do. Now I have changed as well the braking sort of strength that you can do in the settings menu. You can change the acceleration from being weaker to a stronger, and the braking as well from a weaker to a stronger performance, and therefore I've now changed it to a very, very strong braking. So it's going to be a little bit riskier now because of course the harder we brake, the more chance of dropping the motorcycle, but we don't do that on this channel. I try to avoid the crashing as much as possible, not just because of my own ego, but I hate to see a bike getting thrown into the gravel courtesy of my performance. But we're going to do what we can now to try and improve. We are so close to getting this world record. It's just all about putting it all together and having the perfect lap. So coming out of the S's, that was a pretty good performance going into that corner. I have no idea where the Ghost is and how much time we're ahead of that illustrious character, but going into the left-hander, a little bit too firm on the rear brake, but we are still ahead of the Ghost. There is the Ghost, the XG750A DrAce version is on that Ghost right now, and what we're going to do right now, up by a tenth of a second, not too bad. We got a little bit more to play for, and of course going into Cheetah and beyond, we might be able to get a few extra tenths, but braking very firm now going into the right-hander of Crocodiles, very tight to the apex there, almost touching the grass, and that burnt sort of grass, we were very close to it. Do not touch the non-coloured rumble strip. We go across Cheetah now. I always get very hesitant going over that, thinking the bike is just going to snap on itself, but we're still on board. We're still doing well, going into Ingwe, nice and tight to the apex. Is this going to be the lap record? Is this going to be enough? Across the line we will go now. Is it going to be enough? Oh, it's just barely. Just barely. Oh my goodness. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it. We've done it. However, there's a little bit of a thing. I'm too stubborn when it comes to this. I can't be that close to the next increment of time without continuing to push. So therefore, I'm sure I've got a few more laps left in me to try and get the 147. We had to dig deep to get the 148. Let's dig a little bit deeper to get the 147 now. This is going to be really challenging. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. It's just that stubbornness of just seeing that 147 being so close. The sub 148 could be claimed by DrAce here today in this video. And now it's all about piecing it together. So let's see what we can do. Down in the first sector, not a problem though, because it's less than a tenth of a second. We can still get up more time. Going into the left-hander of Clubhouse Bend, nice and tight to the apex there. Beautifully done, ahead of the Ghost once again, as we now go into the S's on the left-hand side of the tyre once again, very tight to the apex. Oh, just touching the grass, kicking up dirt and grass and soil right up at the visionary of DrAce behind. Take that, old man. We're going to try and beat you here as we go into the left-hander now for this very difficult Leo Cop corner for turn 8. Oh, firm on the rear brake, but I tell you what, that wasn't too bad because we had that nice inside line going into the left-hander once again. Now into the downhill section, we are up by 67,000th of a second as we chuck this XG750A street rod around this South African circuit. As we now go firm on the brakes of the right-hander of Crocodiles, nice and tight to the apex, practically running across the rumble strip there, as we now have the left-hander, the right-hander, and then one more left-hander to contend with. That brief left-hander's done. The right-hander here for Cheetah. Ooh, very close there to touching the grass on the inside. We go firm on the brakes for the left-hander of Ingwe. Do not touch the wall. Bring on the power. Bring on the acceleration. That front soft tyre is screaming in pain. As we got it, have we got enough across the line? Oh, it's a 148.1. Still not enough, but 2 laps in succession there. In fact, about 4 or 5 laps in succession of just constantly getting better. Can we do the same here in this particular lap? Lap 10 is the big one. Is this going to be enough to put us into the 147s? We've lost a little bit of time to the Ghost, but of course do not falter, do not panic, we might be able to chase him down. Now, something to mention, we do have a very, very warm front tyre there, so I'll have to be very careful going in on the brakes at some of these corners, because the firmer we push on that brake now, the firmer and the harder that tyre is going to try and hold on, but it's not going to be able to do it, surely, as we now go into the right-hand side for Sunset for turn 5. 10th of a second down compared to the Ghost, but we still have enough in the locker, I'm pretty certain, as we go into the left-hand side now for the Clubhouse Bend for turn 6. Right on the tail of the Ghost. I don't think we're going to beat the Visionary on this one, but of course the more we push, the better we'll become. So for the time being, going into the S's, getting a bit of time, actually saved a little bit of time. Not enough to really make a massive difference, but we're right on the rear tail of the ghostly street rod, as we'll now try and go into the left-hander for Leo Cop. Hard on the brakes will go. Not as much rear brake was applied this time, and as you can see, a much smoother line going in there, but not as quick. So it's a bit of a gamble now to see whether we can get ahead of the Ghost, down by 34,000th of a second. Shout out to Kevin Schwantz as we go on the left-hand side for turn 9. Hard on the brakes will go for turn 10 for the right-hander. The Ghost is still there, though it's absolutely neck and neck. Is this going to be enough for a 147? I'm not so sure. We just have to get a little bit more out of this tyre and a little bit more out of this street rod, and we might have it. But going into the final corner of Ingwe, firm on the brakes. I don't think it's going to be enough, is it? It's going to be super tight. Bring on the acceleration, bring on the power. Oh, it's super close. But we're not going to get the job done in this lap, so we'll have another couple more laps to see if we can get the job done. I can feel it though. We are so close to getting this 147. Of course, only a 10th away. You cannot just give up there. We have to continue till I get that elusive 147. And it'll just look so much better on the leaderboard knowing that we're the only person to get into the 147s. Until you aces watch my video and then decide, okay, now it's time to beat a world record from DrAce. Of course, it probably won't stand for long, and I'm very much expecting someone to beat it. So the first one to beat it, congratulations. But for the time being, this is my performance. This is my effort to try and get get the 147s, and here we go, going into the first sector and exiting the first sector, bang on the same lap time as the other one, so there's absolutely no differential from right now. We need to continue to push because, of course, we have to get one more tenth of a second. It's only a tenth, it's barely enough time to really even blink, so we have to keep on going. Going into the S's, I do feel we can make up a bit of time, so going into the left-hander now, super tight to the apex, a little bit of acceleration, chuck it to the right-hand side, chuck that right knee on the floor and get into the corner, doing very well. We're up again. We are up. We just need to keep this going into the left-hander of Ingwe, be very firm on the brakes, but calm and controlled, the DrAce way, of course, as we go on the left-hand side for turn 8. Good stuff coming on the exit there. We are still ahead. Where are we going to be? Is this enough? Up by 0.3 of a second. This could be it. This could be it, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on to your hats. This could be it, guys. This should be the one. Going into the right-hander for the Crocodiles. We've ran it a little bit too deep, though. Has it all come crashing down on this lap? Please don't tell me we're not going to get the job done now. Going into the right-hander Cheetah. Use a bit of the rumble strip, of course, abusing it if you want to. Hard on the brakes will go now for the final corner. Turn 12 here in Kyalami. Super tight to the apex there. Oh, I can see the ghost. Is this going to be enough? Is this the one to put us into the 147s? Across the line we will go. A 148.035! No! Oh, we are super close now. We can't be 36,000 of a second away from the promised land. Give me the 147. Is this going to be the lap to do it, or is that going to be it? Are we going to just be disconsolate right at the end of the video just because we can't get that elusive 147? The 47 is my racing number in MotoGP and Ride 4 as well. We have to get the 147s. We have to do it. We need to do it. I'm just desperate to get it now. 52 miles I've done now on this Harley Davidson. A bike I'm not particularly fond of, but of course it is growing on me all the time. And if we can get this world record lap, then maybe I'll give it a bit more love because it clearly deserves it, because it's going absolutely gung-ho to give me the 147. I actually forgot we've already got the world record here, and this thing has turned into something totally different. This is going to be 2 challenges in one, if effectively, as we now go into left-hander for the S's. Nice and tight to the apex, flick it to the right, go in the rumble strip a little bit. Are we ahead of the ghost? I can see a little faint outline going very close to the outside of the track there. Goodness me, I thought we were going to end the lap there, going onto the sort of non-coloured rumble strip, going into Leeuwenkop for turn 8, super tight to the apex. Bring on the acceleration, bring on the power. Is this going to be enough this time? There is that bloody ghost once again. Where are we going to be on the sector time? Down by Kevin Schwant's amount of time. We've still got to push as much as we can, but we made a mistake in that last lap going into Crocodiles. If we can outbrake the Crocodile corner, we might have this one done. The ghost went a little bit wide, neck and neck with the ghost now. Not quite as clean as I would have wanted, but going into Cheetah, we might be able to have to go over the rumble strip. Go over the rumble strip. We've got it. Oh my goodness, this could be it. Going into Ingwe now for the final time. Fingers and toes are crossed. Left-hand side for Ingwe. Is this going to be a 147? Is it going to be enough? 54 miles it's taken us to get into the 148 lows. Is it the 147s? It is the 147s. Jubilation, guys. We did it. The 147s. Wow, what a performance. 12 laps it took me to get into the 147s, but look at that progression. 3.2 seconds actually, we were down to start this one off, and look at that progression. Every lap improving and improving and improving. What a performance, but the fastest lap that I've set didn't even include my fastest sector time. That's how super tight and close this was here in Kyalami. What a brilliant challenge. I have absolutely loved this one. DrAce Time Trial Challenges are back. So there it is, confirmation on your screen right now. The 147.869, of course, your British favourite, DrAce, at the top of the timing screens with a 396 compared to the other guys' 398. So upon the note, guys, be sure to compete in the challenge and let me know how you get on. Let me know in the comments section down below. And of course, guys, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment and subscribe. And hit the notification bell to be alerted to every single DrAce video and live stream. Thanks for watching, guys, and ciao for now. Oh, hi. Didn't quite see you there. Good to see you're still here. If this video didn't quite set your appetite, then why not watch some more DrAce content by clicking the video shown on screen now. Furthermore, if you would like to follow me on social media, you can do so now with the links down in the description. Consider subscribing so you don't miss a single DrAce video.